The green room of Lorraine was all soothing creams and gentle lighting, a stark contrast to the storm brewing within Kate Winslet. She sipped her lukewarm herbal tea, the scent of chamomile doing nothing to settle her nerves. Across from her, her publicist, Ellie, scrolled anxiously on her phone. "The segment is about your new project, the BAFTA recognition for your philanthropy, that's all," Ellie reassured, for the third time. Lorraine is a soft touch. "It'll be a love-in." Kate offered a thin smile. She'd done her research. She'd seen the clips. Lorraine Kelly, the nation's favorite auntie, with her cozy jumpers and seemingly harmless chat, had a particular line of questioning when it came to certain topics that sat perilously close to Kate's own private life. The actress straightened the elegant sleeve of her forest green blouse, a garment chosen for its understated power. She was not here as Rose DeWitt Bukater or Mare Sheehan today. She was here as herself, a title that felt heavier than any fictional role. The walk to the studio floor was a short one, the cheerful banter of the crew a blur. And there she was, Lorraine, rising from her chair with a beaming, familiar smile, arms outstretched. "Kate, darling, it's so wonderful to have you back." The hug was effusive, practiced. Kate reciprocated, the scent of Lorraine's perfume, something floral and expensive, enveloping her. They settled into the plush, facing chairs. The opening was pure syrup. They discussed the new film, a historical drama about a reclusive painter. Kate spoke eloquently about the solitude of art, the isolation of genius. Lorraine nodded along, her expression one of rapt admiration. And of course, Lorraine segued, her tone dipping into a more serious, intimate register. "You've been quite the champion for women's voices, for standing up to the bullies in the press, haven't you? We all remember that magnificent speech you gave. I believe in calling out toxicity." "Yes," Kate said, her guard instinctively rising. "Especially when it's dressed up as concern or traditional journalism." "Absolutely, darling, absolutely," Lorraine purred, leaning forward. "And it's so brave, because it does make one a target, doesn't it? Which is why," she paused, a theatrical beat perfectly timed for the cameras. "Which is why some of our viewers were so surprised, and I have to say, a tad confused, by your very public friendship with a certain figure." A cold trickle of understanding dripped down Kate's spine. She kept her expression neutral. "Oh." Lorraine's face was a mask of sympathetic curiosity. "Well, with Amanda Stavely. Your holiday together in Mystique was all over the magazines. And given Ms. Stavely's very close, very supportive association with a certain Premier League football club owned by, well, by a state with a very questionable human rights record, particularly towards women and the LGBTQ+ community," she let the sentence hang, her head tilted. "It just seems at odds, my love. The principles you so fiercely advocate for, and the company you keep. Can you help us understand that?" The studio, warm seconds before, turned arctic. Kate felt the heat flood her neck, a sure sign she was blushing, but her gaze remained steady. Ellie, watching from the side, had her hand clamped over her mouth. This wasn't a question. It was an ambush, wrapped in a cashmere hug. Kate took a deliberate, slow breath, the kind she used before a punishing underwater take. The autocue in front of Lorraine glowed innocuously, but she could see the carefully crafted words. This wasn't an off-the-cuff curiosity. This was a prepared strike. "Lorraine," Kate began, her voice lower, losing its chat show lilt. "Amanda is a friend. A private friend. Our holiday was a private matter. But of course, darling." Lorraine interrupted, her hands fluttering. "Nobody's questioning your right to a private life. But when you're a figure of such moral stature, and you've positioned yourself that way, your public associations become a statement, don't they? It's about the optics. You holiday with a woman who is a key business conduit for a regime that stones people for who they love. How do you reconcile that in your conscience?" The bluntness, couched in that sugary Scottish brogue, was breathtaking. Kate felt a surge of pure, undiluted anger. They were using her own advocacy as a weapon, twisting her stance against toxicity into a permission slip to dissect her friendships. "What you're doing," Kate said, her words precise as cut glass, "is holding me, a woman, responsible for the geopolitical actions of an entire nation, based on who I chose to have a glass of wine with on a beach. You are reducing a complex, decades-long friendship to a tabloid headline and using it to imply hypocrisy. Did you ever think that private conversations between friends might involve challenging each other's perspectives? Or does that not fit the neat, judgmental narrative you're constructing for your show today? Lorraine's smile tightened at the corners. The audience was dead silent. It's not about narrative, Kate. It's about accountability. You spoke so powerfully about the old guard protecting each other. Isn't this just another form of that? The liberal elite, protecting their own principles be damned. That was the match to the tinder. Kate's composure, her years of media training, evaporated. She saw the trap now in its full glory. Agree, and she threw a friend under the bus for a soundbite. Defend, and she was the hypocrite. The liberal elite. Kate's laugh was short, sharp, and utterly without humor. You've sat on this sofa for 30 years, Lorraine, interviewing serial adulterers from soap operas and giving platforms to politicians who've voted to cut benefits for the disabled. You've built a career on not being too challenging, on being everyone's pal. And now you want to play moral inquisitor. You want to talk to me about accountability. The only old guard here is the one that uses women as props for their own sanctimony. A collective gasp rippled through the studio. Lorraine's face flushed a deep magenta. I think that's a deeply unfair and personal attack, she spluttered, her persona cracking to reveal something steely and furious beneath. It's no more personal than you using my friendship as a stick to beat me with because you think it makes for good television, Kate shot back, her voice rising. You don't care about human rights in the Gulf. You care about ratings. This is a grotesque performance, and I will not be your supporting actor in it. A frantic floor manager was making wild, slashing gestures across his throat from the shadows beyond the cameras. The on-air light, however, remained a relentless, glowing red. They were still broadcasting. Every hissed word, every furious blink, was being fed directly into a million living rooms. Lorraine, a veteran of live TV, tried to wrest back control. Kate, please, let's just take a moment. We're all friends here. The phrase was a staple of her brand, but now it sounded hollow, desperate. We are not friends, Kate stated, cold and clear. You are a presenter. I am a guest. You have profoundly overstepped. This was pitched as a conversation about art and charity. Instead, you've staged a trial by television based on gossip column photographs. She made a move as if to stand, then stopped, locking eyes with Lorraine. You asked about conscience. My conscience is clear. I wonder if you can say the same about this little stunt. The silence that followed was catastrophic television. Lorraine floundered, her mouth opening and closing, no witty quip, no gentle deflection forthcoming. The persona had been shattered, and the professional beneath was scrambling. Kate's words hung in the air, indicting the entire premise of the show. Finally, Lorraine found her voice, but it was stripped of its warmth, brittle and official. I think, perhaps, we need to take a short break. Clearly emotions are running high. She turned to a camera, her smile a grimace. We'll be right back after this. The on-air light died. The second it did, the studio erupted into chaotic noise. Producers swarmed the floor. Ellie sprinted from the sidelines, arriving at Kate's side as the actress finally stood up, her body thrumming with adrenaline. Kate, darling, I'm so sorry, I had no idea, Lorraine was saying, approaching with her hands out, the mask of concern back but her eyes hard. Kate ignored her. She looked at Ellie. We're leaving. Now. A senior producer, a man with a headset and a panicked expression, blocked their path to the exit. Ms. Winslet, please, if you could just come to my office for 5 minutes. We can discuss this, maybe tape a calmer conclusion after the break. There will be no conclusion, Kate said, not breaking her stride. The conclusion just aired. Move, please. The authority in her tone, the same she used to command a film set, was absolute. The producer stepped aside. The journey out was a blur of shocked faces and buzzing phones. They moved through the labyrinthine corridors of the ITV studios, Ellie whispering a stream of urgent logistics into her phone. Paparazzi, somehow already tipped off, were gathering at the main entrance. Cars around the back, service exit, Ellie directed. As they waited for the elevator, Kate's hands trembled. It wasn't with fear, but with the aftershock of fury spent. Get my statement out, she said to Ellie, her voice now eerily calm. Short. Say I respect the importance of robust interview but believe the line into exploitative personal speculation was crossed today. Say I stand by my friends and my principles. Nothing more. Then get me the numbers for Amanda and my lawyer. The elevator doors opened to a dank loading bay. The car was there, engine running. As she slid into the backseat, the grey London morning enveloping her, the first wave of headlines were already lighting up Ellie's phone. The narrative was being written without them. The fallout was instant and polarizing. The clip of the confrontation, neatly edited to highlight Kate's outburst, went viral within the hour. Headlines screamed, "Kate melts down," and "Winslet walk out." Star kicked off Lorraine after shock rant. Lorraine's team moved quickly. A statement was issued, expressing regret that a discussion about important issues of principle became heated and personal. It painted Lorraine as the stoic professional trying to have a serious conversation, and Kate as the diva who couldn't handle scrutiny. The show's social media was flooded with comments calling Kate a hypocrite, and praising Lorraine for asking the tough questions. But a counter-narrative was building. Prominent journalists, particularly women, began to dissect the exchange. Had it been a tough question, or a cheap shot? A lengthy column in a broadsheet asked, "Since when did Lorraine Kelly become the arbiter of geopolitical purity?" It pointed out her long, critical interviews with celebrities and politicians with far more direct and damaging associations. The phrase, selective morality, started to trend. Kate, sequestered in her London home, did not watch the tapes. She followed Ellie's strategy, controlled response. Her concise statement was her only public word. Privately, she called Amanda Stavely. The conversation was long, emotional, and ended with Amanda's husky laugh. "Darling, I've been called a mercenary by the best of them. Welcome to the club. Don't you dare apologize for me." The legal letters were prepared, not for defamation, but for breach of agreement. Ellie's team meticulously highlighted how the interview's stated topics had been radically and dishonestly altered. The most significant shift came 2 days later. A popular media watchdog podcast obtained and aired the full, unedited pre-interview briefing notes. They clearly showed Lorraine's producers agreeing to focus solely on the film and philanthropy. A separate, leaked email from a researcher suggested, pressing Kate on the Stavely friendship for a gotcha moment, given her holier-than-thou representative. The sanctimony was now laid bare, and it belonged to the show. Public sentiment began to turn. The story was no longer Kate's hypocrisy, but the Lorraine ambush. Fellow actors, many of whom had endured similar bad faith interviews, sent private messages of support. A major LGBTQ+ charity Kate had long supported released a statement thanking her for her unwavering advocacy and condemning the instrumentalization of serious human rights issues for daytime TV drama. The following Monday, a chastened Lorraine opened with a monologue. Lorraine, looking strained, addressed the camera. "Sometimes, in pursuit of a lively discussion, we get the tone wrong. We are, and always will be, a show that welcomes debate, but it must be conducted with respect. To any guest who has ever felt blindsided on this sofa, I offer my sincere apologies." It was a masterclass in non-specific damage control, but the message was clear: they had been forced to retreat. Kate Winslet did not watch it. She was on a train to Cornwall, script in hand, looking out at the racing landscape. The noise was fading. She had not won. There were no winners in such a public scrum. But she had held her ground. She had refused to be manipulated, refused to sacrifice a friend on the altar of convenient optics. The film about the reclusive painter would be released to strong reviews, with many critics noting a new, ferocious depth in Kate's performance. In one interview, for a respected Sunday paper, the journalist asked, cautiously, about the media storm earlier in the year. Kate smiled, a genuine, quiet smile. "It clarified things," she said simply. "It reminded me that my job is to embody truth in my work. My life is my own. The two are connected, but they are not fodder." Some lines, she said, echoing her words from another lifetime on a TV sofa, should not be crossed. And this time, there was no one to argue.